We've seen it. The DCU debut on the big screen has come. The drive-in pod has seen Superman. Ricky Flicks and I, we saw it with our parents. We saw it with our uncle. We saw it with our cousins. It was a family affair at our local AMC. Ricky Flicks, how are you feeling leaving Superman?
Relieved. I feel relieved, doctor. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's a sigh, or no, so sorry, not a sigh. You could breathe now. We were holding in our breath for how many years? Ever since, DCEU ends. We're like, all right, what's going to happen next? We're holding our breath. Who's going to run the ship? Oh, it's James Gunn. We have hope, right? And what is he going to do? Like, oh, he's going to do Superman. He's going to write it himself. He has David Cornsweet, someone that's never actually led a movie before. There's so, like, again, we have so much at hand here. Is there going to be a Brave and the Bold? There's not even a Wonder Woman yet. Remember, we thought that there was a chance that Henry Cavill was going to come back. Remember when we thought that there was a chance that Gal Gadot was going to come back? Remember there was a chance that the Rock Johnson was going to stay in the DC universe? No, we figured it out, and this is more breath. Take a breath here. We figured it out. After seeing this movie, I'm confident that we're on the right footing.
Relieved is a great word, and I think a more appropriate one is there's hope. There is hope, as Superman would inspire and what James Gunn has instilled with DC fans. This is going to be obviously we both like the movie. This is going to be about a 15-minute conversation, spoiler-free reactions, full review with spoilers, in-depth deep dive coming Monday, but we had to hop on because of this pretty historic release and something that we're very passionate about. I told you beforehand, this was probably my most anticipated movie since Oppenheimer 2 years ago. So I had a lot riding on this. I had such high hopes for it, and I really enjoyed it. Like, it was a fun movie. There was a lot of nerves, I guess, from a lot of people about James Gunn making it. Is there going to be over infusion of comedy? Is it going to be campy? Is it going to be too much of a turn from what we got from Zack Snyder? Is it the right director for Superman? And I got to give props to James Gunn. It seems like he has an understanding of the Superman character, but he also did not apologize for being himself in this movie. This movie was unafraid to have its tone drastically different from the Snyderverse, drastically different from the Batman, and it wasn't afraid to be goofy, campy, but also would make you feel fuzzy inside by the end. I adored it. I will go see it again. It's interesting because the group we were with was pretty torn, and our uncle and our cousins weren't as big of fans of what we saw on the big screen. Our dad liked it. Our mom loved it. We were a family divided, I think, afterwards. And I anticipate that's going to happen for this movie, Ricky Flicks. Would you be, I know it's 83% Rotten Tomatoes. It's critic score. It's got 96 audience, but I think this movie will be more divisive based on how goofy it can be at times. I think that might rub people who adored the previous version of Superman the wrong way.
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting how you say, 'cause on the car ride home, I'm jamming out a little bit, and I was deep in thought trying to figure out what I was gonna say here, and that was something that I came across, is that true blue Superman fans, I think, are gonna be divided, and I think I am divided myself, where I
Mm.
think they did a lot of great job paying homage to Christopher Reeves and, the prior Superman iterations in the comics, and other times they didn't, okay? They just did not. And I'm a little torn on that myself. And I'm not saying I'm the biggest Superman fan, even though I have a poster in the background. In the background of this picture, you know what else I have a poster of? The Batman. I'm a little bit torn, but at the same time, it's like I look at the audience score, 96%, and I look at maybe just a general movie going audience. Yes, maybe they're going to be a little bit confused if they're not in the lore. If you don't listen to this podcast on a weekly basis, and we're keeping you up to date on the behind the scenes of how they make this movie and whatnot, and the rumors and whatnot. But yes, there's a lot going on. I thought, since we are in the know a little bit, I thought it was doable. I thought maybe some things felt rushed, but at the end of the day, like you said, this is a James Gunn joint, and this is a very uplifting Superman superhero story. and I thought it worked. And that's what matters because the DCU EU has not worked. This definitely worked and was uplifting, and especially by the end. And this is a movie going audience, pump your fist in the air at the end type of movie. And I think honestly, the DCU just needed a win out of this. They needed a win. I'm not saying this is a generational movie, but this is definitely a movie where it's like, that's a good movie, man. And it works. And you might not love everything about it, but you can't say it's bad. That's where like I kind of was like fighting a little bit with our cousin or our uncle, perhaps. Like, I don't think you could say this is a bad movie. You might not like some things about it, and it could be polarizing at times or divisive, and you might not like some of the things they did, but this movie works and it's a solid movie. Like at the minimum. In my opinion, I think it's minimally a solid movie.
Yeah, more than solid. I think
Minimally.
diehard Superman fans, they might be divided on it a bit because of messing with the lore a little bit, and also Superman gets his ass kicked a decent amount in this movie, and I'm being light about that. And maybe more so, I would say definitely more so than any other Superman movie. And it's a start, and by the third act, like you start to see what the Superman's going to be in the future for the DCU. I think David Corenswet, I think he put his own spin on the character that I don't think is the definitive version of Superman, but I think it separates itself from like the brooding version that we get with um Henry Cavill and the near perfect human being slash alien that we get from Christopher Reeve. And then you obviously have Brandon Routh kind of just doing a Christopher Reeve imitation. Cornswell, I don't think really did a Reeve imitation here. I think he made it his own. I guess like a new Superman for a new generation. That's what it kind of feels like. And Cornswell, I thought was good. I'm excited to see how his character develops in the future. I do think that there were several other performances that were pretty stellar in this movie, and I think Lois Lane, Rachel Brosnahan, I think she's going to have her own spin on the character. I think she's going to be a definitive Lois Lane of her own generation. I think the scenes with her and Clark Kent, very good. I wish we even had more of those scenes, if anything. And I think Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor, my guy. Um, you knew he was cooking when he was doing some evil shit in the third act, and our dad gave the double bird to the bald-headed Nicholas Hoult from this third to last row in the theater. That's how you know my boy Nick Hoult is cooking. He's making the audience hate him to death. I thought Lex was diabolical in this movie, and I think the last one I just wanted to call out is Mr. Terrific. Mr. Terrific, I think, was a complete scene stealer in this. I 100% could see a spinoff with him. Ed Gaethje, total redemption from X-Men First Class. Those are the performances I really wanted to highlight, Ricky Flex. Any thoughts on what we saw from these crop of actors?
I thought the performances across the board, I thought for the most part were great. I thought Lex Luthor was a standout. I thought Lois Lane was a standout. Ed Gaethje, again, just because you said it and I could imitate it, that's why I got it right. Ed Gaethje, I thought was great, and you are right, dude. Like we've never seen him. Like again, I was a little nervous with the casting because Mr. Terrific, kind of a monotone guy, and like Ed Gaethje, like nothing he's ever been in. Whether it's, I'm not saying I'm a huge Ed Gaethje follower, but I've never seen him be that like monotone, like very low leveled guy, and he nailed it. I think he nailed Mr. Terrific. I thought he was great. Um, I'm not doing puns today. I'm not doing puns. I will say the one performance I don't think was bad, but clearly was like kind of missing was Hawkgirl. She was kind of the odd man out. You know, she was kind of like the Justice Gang. Guy Gardner, Nathan Fillion was cooking in his like comic relief. We just talked about Mr. Terrific. Lois Lane and her story arc I thought was good. Jimmy Olsen. Hello,
He got some
Skylar.
shine, dude. Yeah, Gizondo was good in this movie.
He was good. I would say that the one person that kind of got left out was Hawkgirl. Even like Crypto was good. Maybe a little too much Crypto in my opinion, but he was good. But Hawkgirl I think was the odd man out.
I think she just got shortchanged with the script, honestly, more so than anything. She just didn't really get the splashy type of lines like you get from Guy Gardner, and you get the excellent delivery from Nathan Fillion. And the character is just a wise ass, you know? And Mr. Terrific is like the smartest dude on the planet, but also he has like a comedic, deadpan delivery that Ed Gaethje just nails. He nails it, and he has one of the best action sequences of the movie, if not the best action sequence, and Superman's not even in it. So that's like a minor spoiler. I'm throwing it out there. That was an awesome scene. And also that scene was James Gunn being James Gunn. That's where it's like, James Gunn, this is a Superman movie. Is he going to like curtail his style a little bit? I don't think he did. He kept it within the scope of Superman. He honored the lore, in my opinion. I think he honored the lore, and he gave us hope for the DCU. I think that was it's really hard to do because it's such a tall task to take on a Superman movie after you're like heralded as the next head of DC Studios. You have made successful, like, I guess, C-list, like character superhero movies, and then you're asked, and then you basically appoint yourself to do Superman. You want to like look at what you've done in the past, what has been done in the past, but he was himself in this movie. And if you are a James Gunn fan, you are gonna love this movie 100%.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think like yes, there were a lot of characters. That was probably my biggest worry heading into this movie was that and the CGI. I thought the CGI we didn't see it on IMAX. Um, Nothing memorable, good or bad, in the CGI respect. And with performances, you mentioned Ed Gaethje, Mr. Terrific, having one of, if not the best action sequence. We are hyping this movie up a lot. I will bring us back down to earth a little bit. Just like I mentioned with the CGI, I don't know if there is like the hallmark Superman moment in this movie, which I kind of was waiting for. It's not like something like you could like point to and say, "That's my Superman." I
I
think
think
I think it was missing something like that.
they tried to
Personally,
give it to you. I know one scene where they tried to give it to you. I
they
don't think it lasted
tried,
long.
but I don't think it worked. I don't think it worked out for me. So like when you're leaving the theater, I was like, "That's a good movie." But I literally said to you, like, or I said to you and our cousins, I said, that wasn't a game changer of a movie. Like, sure, it was different. And yes, it worked. I think it's a great start for the DCU, and it's a good movie. And I think all these performances worked. There's nothing wrong with the movie except like I guess I just like thought like I guess I wanted a little bit more. Maybe my expectations were raised this week. You heard it earlier on this podcast that our expectations were high. I guess I just wanted a little bit more and say, whoa, that action scene from Superman, like that's my Superman, that's my Christopher Reeve, that's my Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. I didn't get one of those in this movie. So like I'm sold on David Cornsweet as like Superman. Not a lot of Clark Kent in this movie. Again, spoiler free, but I'm just preparing you for that. But again, maybe just like when you're going to see it, maybe look for a moment where you're like, that's my guy.
I know exactly the moment they want you to think it is. I think it could have been a more impactful moment of the movie, and then you could have had the shot. I think that's what we're looking for, the shot. And I think they had the shot, but I don't think it was at the most opportune time.
And I will also say, I do agree with the direction where they didn't do an origin story. Okay, I agree with this. Um, and I think a big thing about Superman is that he's human. Like they try to humanize him as much as possible, and they tried in this movie, but they did try with a lot of exposition, and they kept trying to tell you, "I'm human, I'm human, I'm human." And I think it was a problem. It felt like it was catching you up over the past 3 years of trying to tell you what has happened and how he is human, and we didn't see enough of it. And maybe you could say it's because we didn't see a lot of Clark Kent, or we didn't see enough of Lois and Clark together, or Lois and Superman, whatever you want to call it. Maybe you could say that there's just not enough time in this movie, I guess.
Yeah.
I think you could have that complaint. So I guess that's something that's also like kind of drawing me back from saying, like, this is my guy, this is a generational movie. Or like a, not generational movie, but like, an all-star movie versus like, this is a very good movie, which I think it is.
I think them dropping you in the middle of the DCU, a non-origin story, it led to a lot of dialogue in the first two acts that are exposition-y, and they're explaining, I guess, the circumstances of the world, where Superman stands in the world. It's not exactly natural at times, but I think it gets its bearing in the third act. I think James Gunn did a good job of telling you what type of world we are in without kind of overstepping, without, going beyond the scope of Superman. Because that's where Batman vs Superman went wrong, where they went beyond the scope of Batman and Superman, and they're teasing the Justice League and they're showing different characters. This one still remained in the scope. It's the first movie in the DCU. James Gunn has been talking a lot about the different parts of the DC universe, the different cities. I was anticipating that there we would get more of, name drops and character mentions. It all really does come back to Superman, but the exposition-y like type of dialogue is kind of just trying to set the scene for you, and that also makes it an imperfect movie. And that's what separates it, doesn't make it perfect. It's not as good as the Batman. I'm telling you that straight up. It's not as good as the Batman. And the Batman is puts on a clinic when in terms of like this character. We're not showing the origin story, but we're going to tell you like all about like where he came from without being in your face about it. The Superman doesn't do as well in that regard. But does it capture the essence of the character similar to the way the Batman did? Like the detective roots of Bruce Wayne, just like the hope that Superman inspires. And I think both movies are very successful in that manner, Ricky Flex. Other thoughts that we have.
Yeah, I think just building off of that, I think you nailed it. I think a thing with the Batman, again, now we're bringing it back to this almost perfect film, but let's just talk for a second here. Another movie that kind of drops you, not an origin movie, but in the middle of the character, right? In the middle of his journey, right? That one's different because that's not in a universe. It's just the Batman universe. James Gunn has to think of so many different elements to mention here. Every piece of dialogue is going to be analyzed and say, "Where's
Exactly.
my Wonder Woman movie? Where's my Supergirl movie?"
Harder.
So it's a lot harder. Okay, and the thing is, the Batman has been the one consistent good property from DC, and also consistently made. Superman is the exact opposite, where we haven't had. This is going to be really piss off some Snyderverse stands. And I am a Cavill guy. I love Cavill. It's just that it's not your typical Superman that people like from the comics or Christopher Reeves. What you using your words, and I agree with the essence of Superman, capturing the Superman, humanizing Superman, that the all American Superman,
Boy
hope,
Scout.
Boy Scout. He doesn't tell a lie. We haven't seen that since Christopher Reeve. We just haven't, right? And this movie, the two big things that James Gunn had to do with this movie is give us trust in this universe, which I talked about just before this, and give us our cornerstone of our franchise, Superman, back to his true essence, his true
Yeah.
character. And I think he nailed those two, and that's why this movie is good, right? It hit the like it blew by. Like if it didn't do either of those, like it only did one of those, then like we would have a serious discussion here. But the thing is that it did both of them, and now it's like, all right, like wipe your hands, we're good to go. Now let's like open the floodgates. Let's get to this universe because we actually our cornerstone franchise guy, he's not going out to the clubs at night. He's ready to go, and that's what we have here.
Yeah, I agree. And I comic book accuracy is huge, I think, when it comes to this universe. Okay. Maybe switching up some of the lore, but also letting directors be themselves. James Gunn showing I'm gonna make my movie this way. And if I learned anything from this, there's no way the next movie is going in the DCU, the future DCU movie slates the directors will have power over the tone of the movie. James Gunn will not make every movie the same tone as this one, and I find that very exciting. There's no way that you're going to have movies that fit this tone for everything. I just love that idea because it's like what James Gunn said. It's like we're not looking for one typical tone to go across all these movies. We want to see these characters interact, but we also want to see them exist and put together the best movie possible. So I think we should maybe have one or two comments here, Ricky Flex, and then we save it for the full deep dive on Monday. I wanted to add Crypto. I think he'll also be a little bit divisive of a character because at times it could feel like maybe it's too much. Other times people will say this is the cutest part of the movie or the best part of the movie. I am in the camp that it was awesome to have Crypto in this movie. It fit the tone of the movie. If you like the dark, brooding Snyderverse, you're going to absolutely probably despise Crypto in this movie. But if you love having fun at these type of movies and are open to a different iteration that than we just saw with the Snyderverse, I think you're really going to enjoy Crypto, and um, I'll leave it there. I think Crypto was awesome. I'll save more for the deep dive, and I think when you find out more about the background of Crypto, like his behavior and his relationship with Superman, it makes more sense. I
Mm,
think there was nice little sly writing in that regard, where it's
mm.
like, yeah, people are gonna say and have these type of question marks at the end. I think James Gunn actually covered his tracks pretty well at the end of this movie, Rick.
I think that's a good way to put it. Covers tracks because I think there was a little too much crypto. I think I said that earlier. I think there was, but it worked. It did work, and you did expect that if you know James Gunn. I think we talked about this earlier in the pod. Like we expected this, you know. And was there one and two scenes maybe that was pretty unnecessary? Yeah, but he did cover his tracks a little bit at the end, and I give him the benefit of the doubt because he did that because I think that was really clever.
I'll also say this felt like a summer blockbuster because of the pace. Like this is breakneck pace, and that's where it also felt like that you're getting dropped in this universe. You're turning left and right. You're doing 360s. Like where am I right now? And you get a bunch of title cards at the beginning. A movie really doesn't stop. It is like a freight train, and it made it feel like a summer blockbuster. Um, I think that was a good way to approach this movie. No slow parts. 2 hours 9 minutes that flew by.
Yeah, I like if I had to pick between this or, maybe dive into a couple other things, I think just for a general movie audience, keep up the pace. Keep it
Yeah.
going. I think this was the right move. But like if I did have to say something like or say a drawback to it, it's what I was saying earlier about a lot of the exposition in the first couple acts, a lot of the feeling of catching up to the origin story of the prior 3 years. And the bouncing like around it was bouncing around at times because it had a breakneck pace.
Yeah.
It does, and there was different storylines, so many different characters. So, like again, for people like me and you, and people that listen to this podcast, and we kind of had a good preview of what was going to be, but the normal general audience maybe didn't appreciate that.
It's a double-edged sword because, like, if you have that breakneck pace, I think the entertainment value and the entertainment factor goes up. But if you have the longer movie, you get more time with some of these supporting characters too, which I think was also, uh, I don't want to call it a negative of the movie, but it's just something that maybe I wanted to hang out a little bit more with some of these
Mm,
supporting
that's a good way
characters.
to put it.
But at the same time, like the scope, it all is funneling towards Superman, and that's the most important thing. So I think it was the right decision.
Do you think there was enough Superman?
Do I think there was enough Superman?
It's close.
I think there was enough, but there wasn't enough. He got his ass kicked a lot in this movie,
That's
and
what
I
I'm
think,
saying. Dude. He didn't he like that one moment. Like I was waiting for that, dude.
yeah, it seems like I'm very interested if James Gunn comes back to direct the sequel, and I think in the next movie, this is kind of going into next podcast a little bit, but I think you're going to be seeing a different Superman in the next movie in terms of the use of his powers. 100%. And I think it's going to dive more into the backstory and the lore that we got a taste of in this movie. I will say that I don't know if James Gunn's going to come back. His responsibilities may go up in the DCU, may not have time to make the sequel. I would be interested to see if there's a new director and is it more like a guy action oriented wants to see like someone that gets your like gears going like, hey, Superman's going to kick some ass in this movie.
And similar to the Batman, like we did again, we previewed this similar to the Batman with Robert Pattinson. Again, year two Batman, he's not going to be the perfect Batman. That's why he was getting his ass kicked at times. It was similar boat here, where they say at the beginning of the. Oh wait, I don't want to do. I'm not doing.
Yeah,
Spoilers.
well, I think we got to cut it soon. I think we got to cut it.
yeah. Now we're getting crazy. Now yeah, I'm getting crazy. It's dark. You can see it's dark here. TDI late night. That's when things get
We got
nuts.
to cut it off.
We gotta cut it off. I'm cut off. I'm
Okay.
cut off.
We'll save it because we're talking enough now. I think we did a great job. That's a great spoiler-free review for you guys. Instant reactions from Superman. Make sure you guys are following the pod because Monday we are going full spoilers. We are going a deep dive. I'm gonna see this again. I'm gonna let you know how it hits for a second time. Our uncle will not see it again. Our cousins probably will not see it again. But you know
Ever.
what? Dr. O will go see it again this opening weekend. Monday, full deep dive. We'll preview the rest of the upcoming DCU slate projects coming up. this year, 2026, and beyond. It's exciting time to be a DC fan. Make sure you guys are also subscribed to our YouTube at capital T, capital D, capital I, lowercase podcast at TDI Podcast. And then follow us on our socials at the Drive-In Pod, Twitter, and Instagram. So that'll do it. Until next time, we will smell ya.